So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be covering the important articles from our newspaper. We will be seeing that from the weekend, we will try to take few articles and then we will be covering the today's newspaper as well. Now when we are talking about the coverage, you know that we could not come live yesterday because of some reasons, and ultimately we will be covering those details as well. If you talk about last 4-5 days or last 4 days to be exact, okay, including today's day. So you will be seeing that there are some developments which has happened. When we are talking about the SPEDX, we have seen that we have gone for the redocking, and this time ISRO has said that they will be going for a precision redocking. They will be going for that maneuver again so that we can establish the precision. Okay, so that is the one thing. Other than that, you must have heard about the role of space weather in the SPEDX or the docking and undocking activities. So we will be talking about that. We will also see that recently we have seen that Donald Trump's elections was there in USA. After that, it was said that on 20th of January he will be taking the oath. And since last 4 days, you will be seeing that there are some kind of speculations which has been made that what kind of decision he will be taking, what kind of things he will be doing in the international order as well as the domestic politics. So we will be talking about that as well. Other than that, there was this another case when we are talking about the RG Kar incident which has happened in Kolkata. In that case, there was a death sentence which has been given. So considering that, also we will be talking about that what are the instances when in India you can go for the death sentence. Okay, there is this doctrine that is the rarest of the rarest incidents are only eligible for the death you can say penalty. So we'll be seeing that how you decide that which is the rarest of the rare opportunities. Okay, that is there. After that, you must have heard about the Svamitva Yojana. Okay, so recently there was this you can say scheme by the government which was there, that is Svamitva Yojana. So we'll be talking about that as well. And there were other things like there was this ASI excavation which has happened in Odisha, Ratnagiri. So we will be talking about that. All these factors, all these things we will be discussing today in our today's session. So this session will be highly productive session because obviously we are covering some of the important sessions over here. Other than that, you know that there are certain things which are there, and when we are talking about the fact of the day and the geography through maps, all these things, today we will be not going for the fact of the day because topics are very much, so we will be focusing on the topics today. But geography through maps, we will be talking about one more island which has been recently in news. Okay, when we are talking about Andaman and Nicobar Island, Lakshadweep Island, these are the group of islands which are already there, and we have been talking about these territories for a long while. You know that they are part of our territory, and when we talk about the island territories of India, we only focus on Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar. Now we will be talking about another you can say island over here in the geography through maps here, that is Murray Island. So we will be talking about that. Okay. Other than that, rarest of the rare death penalty, we will be discussing Golden Age of America. Herein we will be talking about the decisions which has been taken by Mr. Trump after getting into office. Okay, so he has gone for various orders just after entering into the office. So we will be talking about those things, and then Swamitva Yojana. Herein we will be discussing about some of the important aspects with respect to the land and GIS mapping. Okay, and how it will be important. Other than that, this particular topic has been already covered in our other YouTube videos, so you can watch that as well, but we will be covering this. Okay, for your own read, there will be one article, we will be discussing one editorial as well, and then we will be moving to the practice question as usual. Okay, so let's start with the first part, that is geography through map. Before that, I would like to tell you that Drishti IAS is offering you ISGS foundation courses for prelims as well as mains at our offline center, that is Noida sector 15. For English medium and Hindi medium, admissions are open. For more details, you can call on this number, that is 87501 87501. Okay. Now let's move further and start with the geography through map over here. Now this is our beloved India, and then this is your Bangladesh. Okay, now here somewhere on the boundary somewhere here we have this New Murray Island. Okay, New Murray Island. Now you should remember this because this is part of your current affairs as well. Now since it is on the border, there are concerns related to the sovereignty over the island. Who does this island belong to? So there is this you can say dispute between India and Bangladesh which is there. So let's talk about some things with respect to this island. Okay, it is a small uninhabited offshore sandbar landform, marine landform. When we are talking about sandbars, you know that, otherwise you will be seeing that there is ocean, and there are some of the sandbars with having some kind of shapes depending on the, you can say, area they are on, the wind directions over the years, all these things. There will be some kind of sandbars, like this is your oceans, and in between there is some kind of sandbar, or you can say this is the deposits which has been there, which has came out, okay, of the sea level. So these are your, you can say, marine landforms which is there in the Bay of Bengal of the coast of Ganga Brahmaputra Delta region. Okay, when we talk about the Ganga Brahmaputra Delta region, that is your Sundarban area and beyond. Okay, I'm sorry. Then it emerged in the Bay of Bengal in the aftermath of the Bhola cyclone in 1970. You know that cyclones have different names. In 1970, there was this Bhola cyclone. Because of that, what was there? You can say the sea level fluctuated. Okay, when the sea level was fluctuating, then they have this realized that there is this island which is there, that is your Tube Moray Island. Okay, now the level, or the you can say this particularly this island, this keeps emerging and disappearing because of the level of the sea. Let's say this is how the height of the you can say this island is. When the sea level is going down, it will be visible. If the sea level is upward, it will not be visible. Okay, so that has been the trend for there. Although the island was uninhabited, no one is living over here. There were no permanent settlements or the stations located on it. Both India and Bangladesh claimed sovereignty over the island because of speculations over the existence of oil and the natural gas reserves. Okay, so when we are talking about the marine areas or the off coast area, most of the time you will be seeing that there are chances that you will find oil and gases. Considering these resources, both the countries like India as well as Bangladesh, they are, you can say, claiming the sovereignty over this particular island. Okay, now moving further and starting with the first part of the day, that is your death penalty. Death penalty. Now the session court in Kolkata case, when we are talking about the Arjigar case, in that case the accused has been given death sentence. Okay, a session court in Kolkata sentenced Sanjay Roy, convict of rape and murder of a doctor at Arjigar hospital. Okay, so now actually the thing is, death penalty was asked by the CBI, by the government, etc., but he has been given the life imprisonment. Okay, now the thing is, why not death penalty? So in that case, mostly Supreme Court says that death penalty can be given in case where you are having a rarest of the rare incident, or you can say that there is no possibility for the mitigation, or you can say there is no possibility of the reform of that particular person. Okay, in that case you have to go for the death penalty. Okay, most of the heinous crimes are there, all these factors are there. When we talk about the death penalty, there are various factors which has to be considered, and that has been said in a court judgment, that is Bachchan Singh judgment, which was there. We will be talking about that judgment. Ultimately, court has said that in case there is no possibility that this person can be reformed, or there is no possibility that it can be mitigated, so in that cases we will go for the death penalty. Now that is the doctrine which is called as the rarest of the rare incidences. Okay, so let's see. CBI has strongly asked for the death penalty in the case. Even the government has asked for the death penalty in the case, but Supreme Court has held a sentence of the death should be passed only in the rarest of the rare cases, after the court has considered the possible aggravating and the mitigating circumstances. Here, when we talk about the aggravating and the mitigating circumstances, when you say aggravating, that means that these are some of the parameters which are basically taking it towards the death penalty. Okay, and then when we are talking about the mitigating circumstances, these are the circumstances which is taking you away from that. One is the aggravating factors and the mitigating factor. You have to look into aggravating factors as well as the mitigating factor that has been talked in this particular, you can say, case, Bachchan Singh case. Okay, now what is rarest of the rarest test? Rarest of the rare test means that when we are talking about such incidences, there are something which is exceptional which has happened, and we are saying that there is no possibility that there can be a reform of that particular person. Or you can say, when we talk about the justice, there are different kind of justice. Distributive justice is there, you can say punitive justice is there, then reformative justice is there. In India, we mostly focus on the reformative justice, that a person who is going to the prison, we are assuming that that person will come out with a remorse and having a better life afterwards. Okay, he will be a responsible citizen. We will try to make sure that this person has been reformed while in the prison. Okay, so that kind of system we have. In Bachchan Singh, constitutionality of the death penalty was actually challenged, and the court has upheld the constitutionality of the death penalty. Now this is a debate whether India should have a death penalty or not, and in Bachchan Singh case, the court or the Supreme Court has said that yes, India should have the death penalty. That was the thing over here. So In Bachchan Singh case, constitutionality of the death penalty was challenged and court has upheld the death penalty. It should be imposed only in the rarest of the rare case where there is no possibility of reformation. A person cannot be reformed. In that case, you have to go for the death penalty. Okay. Now, 5-judge bench at that point of time did not specify the standard to determine whether the death penalty should be imposed or not. No, they have not gone for a list wherein they have said that in these cases you have to go for the death penalty. In such cases, you should not. What they have done is that they have given a non-exhaustive list. Non-exhaustive list means that there are other things which can be added to this particular list. Okay, so this list and beyond you can go. Okay, so there is a non-exhaustive list of the aggravating and the mitigating circumstances. Aggravating means that is taking you towards the death penalty. Mitigating means that is taking you away from the death penalty. Now let's talk about the aggravating circumstances, that is taking you towards the death penalty. These are written over here. Now, if the murder is planned, calculated and involves extreme brutality, you know that what you are doing and you are still going for it and you are using the most brutal ways. Okay, so that is the case, you might get a death penalty. Second is the exceptional depravity. Okay, like most heinous crime. So in that case also you can say that you can go for the death penalty. If the accused has been found guilty of murdering a public servant, police officer, a member of armed forces while on duty or discharging the duty, at that point of time, if something like that has happened, then also there can be a chance of, you can say, death penalty. Now coming to the next one, that is your mitigating circumstances. What are the factors which will take you away from the death penalty? That is first of the age. Okay, first is the age of the accused. Now, if the age of the accused is towards the minority, or you can say this person does not know much about what he was doing, so that is one factor. Second is whether the accused was under the extreme mental or the emotional disturbances. Okay, if there is a extreme mental or emotional disturbances and because of which he might take some kind of action which is which has been influenced by his psyche. Okay, so that is one factor. Second is the age of the accused, which we have seen. Other than that, one more thing which can discuss over here: what is the possibility of that person to get reformed? Okay, to as I told you that if there is a possibility of that particular person to go for the reformation, then we will not go for the death penalty. Okay, probability of the accused posing a continuous threat of the society. Now that is the another you can say factor, that whether this particular person can be a threat to the society or not, that particular factor can also be taken into consideration. Probability of the reforming, which we have already seen. If the accused was acting on the direction of another person, if he was an agent, okay, so in that case, that particular person who has given the direction, that will be more responsible. So that is another case which will be considered. If the accused believe that their actions are morally justified. Okay, now there are certain cases in which what happens is that people go for taking revenge. Okay, and in their mind they are justified that what I am doing is fine, that is moral thing to do. In such cases also we will consider that we should not go for the death penalty. And then if the accused suffers mentally and unable to appreciate the criminality of the action, if he has gone through some kind of mental pressure, any kind of psyche which is telling him that he does not know what he is doing, what is the nature of the act which he is doing. Okay, so that is also a factor which has to be considered. Now after Bachchan Singh case, what is there? So there are various cases in which the age of the accused has been considered. There are cases wherein it was considered that if the age of the accused is less, okay, so the chance of the reformity is high. So that is one of the case which one of the thing which has been considered. Now, but the thing is, this age factor has not been used consistently. Okay, that is mostly on the basis of the judges discretion. Okay, so that is there. Ram Naresh and others versus state of Chhattisgarh and Ramesh versus state of Rajasthan. In such cases, age of the person has been considered. It was said that if the person is of the younger age, or you can say less than 30 years of the age, in that case they will consider not going for the death penalty because there are high chances that he can be reformed. Okay, so that is another. Baki, when we are talking about the Law Commission of India, in the 262nd report, they have said that this particular age factor has not been used consistently. That is another thing which has been discussed over here. Then there was this Shankar Kishan Rao Khade versus state of Maharashtra, where age was considered as a mitigating factor, which we have already discussed over here, where age was ignored and considered irrelevant. Okay, now the thing is, it is all about the fact and circumstances. Fact and circumstances of the case, which is mostly judge centric. When we are talking about the fact and circumstances, how judge is perceiving the case. Okay, so depends on that as well. Second is the nature of the offense. Now they have most of the cases, like there is this Shankar Khade case which we have just seen over here. compare the case before the pool of the cases. We have already so many judgments which are there, so you have to compare the present case with the fact and circumstances of the other cases. On the basis of these cases, you have to go for the judgment, and not there should not be much subjectivity. Okay, if everything is based on the judge, then there will be subjectivity. In one case you will be considering age, in another case you will not be considering it, so there will not be a uniformity. So that is something which has been seen recently, that applying the rarest of the rarest doctrine would become subjective if you are not going for the comparison of the cases, or you are not going for the precedences. Okay, so that is there. Here another case is there, Bachchi Singh versus State of Punjab. That could be given in the case where the collective conscience of the society is so shocked that the judiciary is expected to impose that penalty. Now, in some kind of cases wherein heinous crime has been committed and it has shocked the society, in such cases court should go for the death penalty, which has been seen in the Bachchi Singh case. Okay, now focused only on the circumstances of the crime and not on the circumstances of the criminal and the possibility of reform. Now, in this case, whatever judgment was given, in the scholarly view or the law commission's view, it was said that now this particular judgment is focusing on the nature of crime. It is not focusing on the you can say thought process, or the you can say the circumstances of the criminal, why he has performed that particular case. Now, possibility of the reform, which we have already seen, there was this another case, that is Santosh Variyar versus State of Maharashtra, wherein it was said that the possibility of the reform, that is also one of the factors which we have already discussed over here. Now, stages of trial. Now, there are various stages of trial, and when we will be talking about the whether we should go for the death penalty or not, whether it should be there or not, all these things will be considered at a stage where you have already decided the conviction, that this particular person is convicted. Now you have to decide on the punishment. Okay, so after the case has happened, there can be another small brief trial wherein you can be seen that you can be taking evidences based on which you can decide that whether should we go for the death penalty or not. Now, in some cases there was this you can say post trial things which has happened. In some cases it did not. Okay, so that is why there was this reference which was made in the Supreme Court, that is in 2022, the framing guidelines regarding the potential mitigating circumstances to be considered while imposing the death sentence. Okay, in that reference it was said that whether the sentence delivered on the same day as conviction satisfy the requirement of the meaningful and the effective hearing. So basically what they are saying is that if you are going for the you can say this conviction on the same day of that, you are going for the you can say that sentence, or you giving the punishment as well. So with that be fulfilling the requirement of the meaningful and the effective hearing. Okay, now herein they have actually thought about this particular process, because when we are talking about this thing, that on the same day if you are going for the conviction, and if you are taking some day and then you are deciding, because when we are talking about the judge has all the you can say evidences which are in front of him. Okay, and in that point of time when he is deciding on that, so there are high chances that that will go against the accused over here. Let's see this what they have written over here. Aggravating circumstances form a part of the record of the case and are always available to the judge. Aggravating circumstances, that he has gone for the murder, he has actually done a heinous crime or not, all these factors which we have discussed over here, these are always in front of the judge, because the parties over there, they are talking about the aggravating circumstances only. But when we are talking about the mitigating circumstances, there can be another trial in which the mitigating circumstances can be put forward by the another party, which is saying that in such scenario the case has happened, and that is why you should not go for that trial. So that was there over here. Now, this bench said that the place the convict at the hopeless disadvantage and tilting the case heavily against him, and that is why you should go for the post conviction, a small trial can be there. Okay, so that is the thing which has been discussed over here. So in the rarest of the rare doctrine, there are two things. One is your aggravating situations and the mitigating situations. Both of these should be taken care by the court. Both of this should be you can say considered by the court, and then they could decide for the death penalty. Okay. Now talking to the next article, that is ASI excavations in the Ratnagiri spotlight ancient Buddhist site in the Southeast Asia link. Now when we are talking about this particular picture over here, here you can see that there is this head of the Mahatma Buddha which is shown over here, and that has been found in the excavation in Odisha, Ratnagiri. Okay. Now there are these three you can say hill logs which is there, that is your Udayagiri. Giri is the word which is generally used for the hills. Okay. Udayagiri, Ratnagiri, third is Lalit Giri. Now this is generally considered as a triangle. Okay, this is kind of considered as the golden triangle over here, and which is basically, sorry, diamond triangle, and this is considered with respect to the Buddhist sites. Okay, so here you can say colossal Buddha head. The colossal Buddha head with the this kind of shells which are there on the head of the Buddha. Colossal Buddha head, massive palm among the discoveries, estimate to date back to the 8th and 9th century. Okay. Other than that, they have also said that there are some kind of links which are there, which are to be considered with the Southeast Asia. It is said that there are some kind of links which is there, and it is you can say putting forward the role, or you can say the kind of trade which we used to have with the Southeast Asia. Hold on a second. Okay. So herein we will be talking about this. First of all, I will tell you that this diamond triangle, here you can see this is Ratnagiri, this is Udayagiri, and this is Lalitgiri. Okay, so this is considered as a triangle. This factor like this, it is there. Okay, so that is there in Odisha. Here we will be talking about some of the factors. Archaeological Survey of India ASI conducted an excavation at Ratnagiri, Odisha after 60 years of gap. Discoveries include a colossal Buddha head, a massive palm, and ancient wall Buddhist relics dated back to the 8th to 9th century AD. Okay, so that is there. Excavation highlighted the Odisha's historical connection to the Buddhism, and starting with the Emperor Ashoka. You know that after the Kalinga War, Ashoka at Dholi has accepted Buddhism. Okay, so that is there in Odisha. So because of which there are various links of Odisha and the Buddhism is there. Okay, so starting with the Emperor Ashoka's adoption of the faith, Ratnagiri is part of the Odisha's diamond triangle. Okay, that is along with the Udayagiri and Lalitgiri. So there are three mountains, that is Ratnagiri, Udayagiri and Lalitgiri. These are noted ancient Buddhist sites which are there. We have talked about that in the next picture over here. You can see this is your Nagiri monastery which is there. Here this is Lalitgiri, and then this is Udayagiri. So this is kind of a triangle which is there. Okay, so that is there in Odisha. Now other than that, insight into the maritime trade links between the Kalinga, that is their ancient Odisha, and Southeast Asian countries like Java, Sumatra and Sri Lanka. So that is there. The site includes structure dated between 7th and the 10th century, 8th, 9th, 10th you can say, and evidence of the Mahayana Buddhism practices. Okay, so Mahayana is a sect. There are two sects which is there. One is Hinayan and then there is Mahayana. Okay, so there is one which is basically based on the teachings of Buddha, earlier teachings of the Buddha, wherein they are not going for the, you can say, personalized form of the Buddhism, and the another one is there wherein you will be seeing that the pictures and the idols of Buddhism are Buddha are worshipped. Okay. Now Odisha's annual Bali Yatra festival. Bali Yatra festival is a festival which is celebrated in Odisha. Why it is celebrated? Because of its historical trade and the cultural ties with the Southeast Asia. Now when we are talking about the Bali Yatra, okay, so that is basically, you can say, the Yatra of Bali. Okay, Bali is a person. Now considering that when we are talking about this particular, you can say, yatra, you will be seeing that there are some kind of ancient links which are there, and they are basically celebrating the historical trade and the cultural ties with the Southeast Asia. These elements will be visible in that. Okay, now you have to remember this Bali Yatra, where it is celebrated, that is there in Odisha. Okay, so that is the thing which has been discussed in this article over here. So we have gone through this. Just know all these things. There are three things which you should remember. One, that Archaeological Survey of India has found something in Ratnagiri. Ratnagiri is part of your diamond triangle. What is diamond triangle? That is the, you can say, a group of Buddhist sites which are there. Okay, that is there in Odisha. Other than that, there is this factor related to Bali Yatra. These are some of the things which you should remember. Now we can move further to the next article. After electoral bond ban, funding through the trust route up, and EC says the data, and data is saying that maximum, you can say, the contribution is going to the, you can say, the ruling party over here. Okay, after the Supreme Court scrapped the electoral bond scheme last year, we have seen that the Supreme Court has said that the this particular bond scheme, electoral bond scheme, is unconstitutional, and they have said that it should be scrapped off, and after that it was scrapped off, and now again we are going back to the older route of the you can say political fundings. Okay, so here the electoral trust route is transparent on the contribution and the beneficiaries. Herein what will happen is that basically, so there will be a trust will be created. Now there is a person A, he wants to contribute some amount to party X. Okay, now he has given the name that I am giving this much amount of money to the party X. Now he will be giving this particular check or whatever funding is there to the trust, okay, and now the trust will be making sure that this money reach to the political party. Now the trust knows that who has given the money, and we know that who has given the money because this is on the trust, and then the political party who is getting the money knows that the who has given the money. So here the details of the donor and the party where it has been gone, it is transparent, okay, so that is there. So the electoral trust route is transparent on the contributors as well as of the beneficiary, where there is only one contributor and one beneficiary of the particular trust. The public can know for sure who is funding whom, okay, because obviously there is a person, there is X person, so public knows about it. If there are multiple contributors, if there are multiple contributors and the recipient, it cannot be specified which company is funding which party, okay. If multiple role is there, then obviously that is not possible. But electoral bonds on the other hand were exempted from the disclosure of the requirement. In the electoral bonds, you know that there was this clause of anonymity was there, okay, and on basis of which actually that has been removed, okay. So anyone in the country could donate money to the political party anonymously through the interest free bearer instrument, that was electoral bond. Now it is not there. Now what are the difference between electoral bond and the electoral trust? First of thing, when we are talking about the regulation, it is regulated by RBI, SBI and the election commission. RBI is the body which used to issue this, SBI is the body which used to distribute it, and the election commission, obviously this will be the authority over the elections. Now it is regulated by the Companies Act. The trust will be built by under the Companies Act, monitored by the election commission and the income tax departments, okay. So that is there. Second is the purpose, aim to streamline the donations while maintaining the donor anonymity. Now when we are talking about the electoral trust, focuses on the aggregating donations and ensuring the transparency. And then when we are talking about the tax benefits, so donor can avail the deductions under the section 80 GGC, that is Income Tax Act. So there was also, you can say, deductions were there. Now when we are talking about the electoral trust, here you can see donor receives the tax deductions and donations through the trust, okay. When we are giving donations to the trust, in that case also you will be going for the tax deduction which will be there. Then operational mechanism, donations are made directly to the political party via bonds. There was this electoral bond which you have to purchase, and then this bond will be, or in the name of whichever political party you are sending the money, that will be that bond will be given to that particular party, and ultimately what will happen is that they can encash it. Now coming to the next one here, the trust collect the fund and distribute them to the political parties. As I told you, there is this, let's say there is this company A which is giving money to, let's say, a trust, and they are saying that to these parties this money should be distributed, but you are not knowing that how much money is going where. But the thing is, if there is only one donor and one beneficiary, then it would be very easy to know that which company has funded which one, okay. Then donor disclosure, here when we are talking about the electoral bond, we know that we have the clause of the anonymity, so it was not there. And when we are talking about the donor's identity in the electoral trust, so here it is basically publicly disclosed, okay. Now when we are talking about the transparency, electoral bond did not have it. And when we talk about the electoral trust, so full disclosure of the, you can say, donor as well as of the beneficiary is there, okay. So this is the difference between the electoral trust way of funding and electoral bond way of funding, which we have discussed. Now we can move to the next one, that is space weather. Sorry. Why space weather is key to the successful docking of the satellites? Yes, in the last session we have talked about the SpaceX. We have talked about the SpaceX, and we have seen that how two satellites has gone for the docking, okay, and they have attached themselves to each other, okay. Now ISRO is saying that they will go for the more precise way, they will go for the second time attempting the same thing, okay. So let's see. Other than that, when we are talking about the weather over here, this article you can read. I will be telling you that what we are trying to understand over here. Now when we are talking about the space weather, like we have our own atmosphere, we have our own weather, so these situations will be there as well. No, there is no though there is no atmosphere in the space, but again there are other factors which are present over there. Let's say this is your sun, okay, this is our earth, this is our earth, and there are some of the satellites which are somewhere over here, okay. Let's say this is a satellite, okay. Now from the sun, you know that there are solar flares which are coming. Solar flares means that when we talk about the sun's corona, from the corona there are various masses which are basically ejaculating from over there, and they are moving towards different planets, okay. Now these solar flares which are coming, okay, and the cycle, there is a cycle of sun, okay, that is a cycle of 11 years. there will be sunspots, okay, relatively cold areas which are there, okay. So considering that, you will be seeing that the the insolation or the these mass particles which are coming towards the earth, that will keep changing their volume, their speed keep changing because of the solar cycle of these 11 years. Now whatever the solar mass which is coming over here, that has the tendency to interfere with the communication or the, you can say, positioning, etc. So that is why we are saying that this time the conditions were so favorable for us that we do not have to go for much trouble in the docking activities, okay. So that is basically the space weather they are talking about over here, that this was in our favor this time, okay. So now let's talk about this, okay. Now favorable space weather was instrumental in the success of Indian Space Research Organization's first ever docking mission, that is SpaceX, only the fourth country to achieve that technology. USA, Russia, China, they had it, now India has it. Okay, so that is an important development which has happened. Now this is important for us because we will be going for the Chandrayaan 4, we will be going for the Bharatiya Antariksha Station as well, okay. So that we are basically seeing that for the future endeavors also this is important for us. Now what is space weather? Now sun's hot outer atmosphere, which is generally called as the solar corona, is consistently spewing electrically charged gases and the particles into the space. These are basically your, you can say, the solar flares, you can say, solar flares which are there, which is coming from the sun. So sun from the corona, every time there is this activities which are happening, the so called solar winds travels at a speed of million of the kilometer per hour, reaches the farthest point of the solar system, creating a space weather, okay. So because of these solar flares, there is this space weather which is being created. Frequency and the intensity of the solar winds fluctuate based on the solar cycle. As I told you, there is this solar activity cycle of 11 years, and every year 11 years the positioning of the, you can say, sunspots which is changing, and or you can say the size of that is changing, and because of which is what is happening is that these mass ejaculations or these particular things, solar flare, their intensity, etc., will change, okay. So on the basis of the sunspots are the indicator of the solar activity. The more the activity, more hazardous the space weather, okay. So if the sunspots are more active, that means that the solar flares will be having high frequency and the intensity, and that will impact the weather over there, okay. So the ongoing solar cycle entered its maximum phase in November 2023. We are currently in the midst of the extended period of the heightened solar activities which is there. How does the space weather impact the satellites, which has I already told you that it will interfere with the, you can say, communications, etc. So that is one of the thing. If we are going for the docking activity or something like that, if there is a issue with the communication, that will be not very good for the any endeavor over here, okay. The enhanced high energy radiations associated with the strong flares from the sun can blind the sensors, interfere with the electronics control system. Magnetic storms from the sun, known as the coronal mass ejections, or very high speed solar winds streams, can disturb the space environment, resulting in the loss of communication and the positional errors which is there, okay. Then any kind of in the you can say space weather, when we talk about the space weather, if that is not very favorable, so such activities would not be very easy for us to go for, okay. So that has been discussed over here. We have seen all this, the need to invest in the improved space weather forecast. Now ISRO is saying that, or the, you can say, other experts are saying that we have to make sure that we read or we study the space weather, okay. And on the basis of which, what will happen is that once we are aware of this space weather, we are aware of the activities, so we will be deciding or designing our, you can say, missions accordingly, okay. So that has been discussed in this particular article. Now coming to the next one, golden age for the America begins now. Trump has taken the office, and after that he has gone for the various decisions. Now we have discussed about all these things again and again, so we will not go into detailed discussion, because obviously I have told you about the Mexico the issue with respect to the Gulf of Mexico. We have already talked about the issue with respect to the, you can say, Panama Canal. We have talked about the issue with respect to the Greenland. We have talked about the issue with respect to the H1B visa. We have talked about the protectionism. We have talked about America First. We have talked about the Making America Great Again, that is MAGA. All these things has been talked about. So now let's see what decisions he has taken recently. Trump's major order after the becoming president: announcement of the third gender, Okay, so he has said that they will be going for to end the third gender. Now there are only two gender, one is male and second is female. That's all. Okay, that is a regressive step, but again that has been taken. Declaration of the national emergency at the Mexican border. Okay, at the Mexican border they are going for the national emergency. Other than that, national energy emergency as well. Energy emergency because they have said that we are the you can say exporting oil and gas. Now we should go for more and more production as well. So national emergency with respect to energy, they have gone for the end of the censorship on the press, then declaring the drug businesses at terrorist, stop releasing the intruders after the capture. Second, rename of the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, reclaim the Panama Canal, which we have already discussed. Then the US has withdrawn from the Paris Climate Agreement. This is nothing new which has been happened in the first Trump of the Trump as well. Then TikTok will be remain optional only for the 90 days. After that it will be banned. Revoked 78 orders which has been issued during the Biden's tenure. So you can say there is a overall you can say rehaul which is going on. Work from home for the government employees is banned, and the US has withdrawn from the WHO membership, which has been done earlier as well. So these are some of the decisions which has been taken by the Mr. Trump as soon as he entered the office. Okay, now drill baby drill. Herein they are saying that go for the more and more energy production, more and more oil production. Okay, so that is there. Trump was to pump, export more oil and lower prices. From this moment, America's decline is over. Immigration, energy, and the tariffs. We have already talked about the immigration-related policies. Mr. Trump is not very you can say favorable about the illegal immigrations, etc. In inaugural speech, Trump promises people have their faith, wealth, and democracy. US to again withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement, says White House. Okay, immigration, the national emergency at the Mexico border, which we have just seen. Energy, we have already talked about that they are going for the more and more oil production. Gender, we have seen that the third gender has been you can say the concept has been erased over here. Diversity and radical and the wasteful diversity, equity, and the inclusion programs inside the federal government. Pardons. Okay, so after the 2021 Capitol riots which has happened, okay, so he has pardoned the accused in that case as well. Okay, tariffs. Obviously, we know that there is a trade war which is going to start between you can say China and USA. Other than that, also it is not very favorable for India as well. And climate, they have withdrawn from the Paris Agreement. Now, Svamitva scheme over here. Who are the beneficiaries and what will happen? I'll give you a outline of this, but this particular you can say topic has been discussed over here. So what is happening is that they are going for using the GIS based technology, and they are going for the mapping. Okay, the survey of the villages which we held, and then there will be mapping. Okay, with the improvised technology in the village areas, that is your Svamitva. Again, survey of villages and mapping with the improvised technology in the village areas, that is Svamitva. It is a central sector scheme which has been launched in 2020, and recently it has been enhanced. There are some funds which has been given. It was launched with the vision to enhance the economic progress of the rural India by providing a record of rights. What will happen is that earlier when we are talking about the various land parcels which are there and it has been occupied by some person, but the you can say proper documents are not there. So now they will be going for the mapping of such things. They will be coming up with the ownership card. Okay, so with that card will be given to that particular person that you are holding this particular property, and on the basis of that card they can go for the taking loans, etc. Other services can be availed. Okay, so that is there. The nodal ministry will be the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. Okay, so that is there. Other than that, the scheme seeks to achieve the following objectives which are given. I would suggest that you should go through this. It is there to bring the financial stability, that is there. Other than that, you are giving a ownership card or the Swamitva card. That means that you are giving a ownership title or the right as well. So that is there. Creation of the survey infrastructure. Precision will be very high. The precision with respect to the distances, that will be very high over here. Now later on, that can be a thing that the panchayat can go for the property tax as well. When we are talking about the finances which has to be incurred by which has to be generated by the panchayat, there are very limited means which are there. This can be one of that particular link. Okay, so this is about the this is basically the land record planning for the villages which has been considered over here. Okay, now moving further, there is this article with respect to the agriculture, and there are some of the gaps which are there, and for that they have used some of the technological things which can be used in the agriculture. So these are the two articles, that is fields of the Viksit Bharat, and second is the MIS, minimum income support, not MSP, minimum support price. Okay, that concept you know that very well. So these two articles which you can read today from your editorials. Okay, now I have given some of the bullet points from this article over here. Here you can see there are some of the things which can be used to make India Viksit Bharat by 2047 in the field of agriculture. So adoption of the AI in the agriculture for the forecasting, or you can say crop monitoring, etc. You can use it. Regenerative farming practices, which like when we are talking about the zero budget natural farming, organic farming, all these things can be used over here and technology can be used. Then robotics and the automation for mechanization of the agriculture, we can do that. Alternative promotion markets, which is there, and digital infrastructure, blockchain technology, and the climate smart farming, that can be used over here. Now, for your own read, there is this article that annual meet begins in Davos, when we are talking about the World Economic Forum. So they are talking about the World Economic Forum. Whenever there will be outcome, we will be talking about that in the details. When we are talking about what is project 75, this is with respect to the construction or the development of the submarines over here. So option B would be a right answer. And here you are having what does the diamond triangle in Odisha represents. You can go through the options. You can answer me in the comment box. Okay. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next session. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you.